But there are many, many things that people think to be true that when you ask them, when you actually look behind the curtain, you find that, well, there is actually no evidence behind it. So people just seem to have just quoted it. And because everybody else has quoted, you think that to be true. So I give an example in the book of the 10,000 hours rule, which was popularized by Malcom Gladwell. The idea that if you spend 10,000 hours on something, you'll become an expert. Now, everybody believes in this 10,000 hours rule. And when I've mentioned it myself, people have nodded away. But it was only when I looked at the underlying evidence that Malcom Gladwell quotes, that evidence shows nothing like a 10,000 hours rule. So Gladwell claimed it supported his rule, and his rule became extremely famous. He sold lots of books, but the actual evidence behind this does not support anything close to that.
And by the way, on that, I've got a 6-year-old, and I've used that example a few times that, you have to put in 10,000. But the idea is we are trying to instill the idea of discipline or practice.
Yeah, so why do people just believe in the 10,000 hours rule? Is it strikes a chord with our values. So we tell our children, practice makes perfect. You can do anything you put your mind to. And so when there is apparent evidence or proof that you can develop anything if you just try hard enough, we love that to be true. And it seems empowering. It means that we're not a slave to our genetics or our upbringing. As long as we try hard enough, we will be able to be successful. And you might think, well, isn't that just a good message to give to our children, to give to anybody? Does it matter that the evidence isn't actually there if it encourages people to practice and try hard? And I do think evidence matters. Why? Because firstly, the 10,000 hours rule suggests that you can try anything, when there was an example that I give in the book of somebody who wanted to become a professional golfer without any natural talent behind this. And so it doesn't matter how much time you put in or how passionate you are, you do need talent as well. And I know that's unpopular because people like to say, well, there's a talent myth, talent doesn't matter. But no matter how much I try, I would never become a professional footballer for England, or I'm not going to become a pop star, no matter how much I love music. Number two is it focuses on the number of hours that you put in, not actually the quality of practice. So Malcom Gladwell gives the idea of how the Beatles became so successful as they just had long jam sessions. But the actual underlying research shows that what matters is actually deliberate practice. So he deliberately says jam sessions don't count as practice. This is just difficult practice sessions guided by a coach. So it's not just rehearsing and going through the motions and repeating something. It is expert practice guided by a coach. And that's very different to what sometimes people interpret the 10,000 hours rule as, which is just put in some hours.